Welcome to this deep dive on chargebacks, old debts, and late collection tactics. We'll explore why a merchant might come after you 18 months after a dispute, and how to protect yourself without crossing legal lines. First, we'll set the stage with a clear overview. Then, we'll dig into practical steps you can take today. Finally, we'll test your knowledge and wrap with key takeaways. Let's begin. Here's the roadmap for today's video. We will clarify the difference between a chargeback and the underlying payment obligation, discuss why merchants might attempt to collect long after the dispute, and lay out a practical, documented action plan. We will also cover how to build an evidence kit and how to respond to aggressive collection behavior. To reinforce learning, we'll include a couple of quick quizzes. Next, let's uncover the controversial truth at the center of this issue. The core truth is that a chargeback returns funds, but does not automatically eliminate an underlying contractual obligation if you still have the goods. If the merchant resurfaces after 18 months, the delay can weaken their position, especially if they ignored earlier outreach. However, you cannot keep the item and the refund. That can be seen as unjust enrichment. Therefore, we need a strategy that puts you on solid ground. Now, let's examine why merchants come back so late in the first place. Merchants may reappear due to accounting audits, internal turnover, or outsourcing to collections. Sometimes, poor internal processes or bad faith strategies lead them to revive claims hoping consumers will capitulate. They may also misunderstand the difference between a refunded chargeback and the separate contractual obligation concerning goods in your possession. Occasionally, data gets passed to third-party collectors who use aggressive tactics. With that context, let's compare chargeback mechanics with the underlying debt principles. On the left, a chargeback operates within card network rules and can refund money. On the right, the underlying contractual obligation revolves around whether you keep or return the goods and whether the seller cured defects. Even after a chargeback, if you still possess the item, the merchant may assert a claim to payment or to reclaim the goods. The gap between these systems is where late collection efforts often arise. Next, let's walk through your action plan to protect yourself and stay compliant. First, compile all evidence of the defect and your earlier outreach. Next, send a written notice offering immediate return with the condition that the merchant pays shipping and insurance. Then, offer practical logistics like pickup windows or a prepaid label and provide a reasonable deadline. Also, reference your prior due diligence in the notice. If aggressive calls continue, ask for communications in writing and document each contact. If harassment persists, consult an attorney to issue a cease-and-desist. Finally, track all events by date, as the merchant's inaction and delay support your position. Now let's visualize the timing with a clear timeline. This timeline highlights key milestones: the initial purchase, early defect reports, the unresponsive merchant, the chargeback filing and resolution, your formal return offer, and the late collection attempt around 18 months. The final stage shows you reaffirming the return offer and documenting all communications. This chronological view clarifies how the merchant's extended delay undermines their position. Next, let's build your evidence kit with a visual map and some markdown you can reuse. This section provides a mind map of your evidence categories and a practical markdown checklist. Include proof of defects, communications, dispute records, and your written return offer. The template snippet offers concise language to state availability for return and the requirement that the merchant cover shipping or arrange pickup within a reasonable time frame. Next, let's test your understanding with a quick true or false question. Quiz time. The question is, true or false, winning a chargeback automatically cancels any obligation if you still possess the item? Option 1, true. Option 2, false. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is false. A chargeback returns funds, but does not necessarily cancel obligations if you retain the goods. The underlying contract issues must be resolved, often by returning the item or reaching an agreement. Next, let's add structure to your documentation with a simple contact log you can mirror. Use this table format to log every interaction. Include the date, who you spoke with, the method, a short summary, related attachments, and your next action. Keeping this updated creates a defensible record. With the log ready, let's map out the key actors and how they interact during this process. In this sequence, the buyer first notifies the merchant about the defect, but the merchant fails to respond. The buyer then files a chargeback with the processor, leading to a provisional and later a final credit. Subsequently, the buyer sends a written notice offering immediate return at the merchant's expense. After a long delay, a collector may contact the buyer. The buyer requests written communications and may consult an attorney to issue a cease and desist for harassment. Now, let's cover best practices for handling collectors without escalating the situation. When collectors call, insist on written communications to reduce pressure and maintain a record. Request validation of the claim, especially if a third party is involved, and reiterate that the item is available for return at the merchant's expense. Document any harassment patterns, and if behavior persists, consult an attorney to issue a cease and desist. Always be mindful that rules vary by jurisdiction, so local legal advice may be necessary. Next, another quick quiz to reinforce the correct next step when a merchant resurfaces after a long delay. Here's the second question. After an 18-month silence, a merchant demands full payment for a defective item you still possess. What is the best next step? Option 1. Pay immediately. Option 2. Threaten them on the phone. Option 3. Offer immediate return with merchant-paid shipping and provide your documented notice. Option 4. Ignore everything indefinitely. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is to offer immediate return with merchant-paid shipping and provide your documented notice. This maintains compliance, reinforces your earlier due diligence, and reduces the merchant's leverage. Now, given we've touched legal and regulatory concepts, let's make our disclaimer explicit. This content is for educational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. Laws and procedures vary by jurisdiction, and your situation may require tailored guidance. You should consult a qualified attorney regarding your specific facts. With that in mind, let's lock in the key takeaways. First, a chargeback can refund money, but does not necessarily resolve obligations if you retain the goods. Second, substantial delay weakens the merchant's position, but does not entitle you to both the item and the refund. Third, the strongest move is to offer an immediate return with merchant-paid shipping and document all steps. Fourth, direct communications into writing and consult counsel regarding any harassment. Finally, maintain a detailed timeline and documentation as your primary shield. Now, let's summarize and give you next steps. In summary, clarify the difference between chargeback remedies and any underlying obligation tied to possession of the goods. Use a documented return offer strategy that requires the merchant to cover shipping. Centralize and preserve all evidence. Insist on written communications and maintain a detailed log. If harassment continues, escalate through legal counsel. Finally, let's close with a creative call to action so you can keep learning and stay protected. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, please like the video, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe for more clear, practical consumer strategy content. Tell us in the comments how you've handled late collection attempts and what topics you want next. See you in the next video.